Dre, red poly, blue poncho, Monday.
All right, folks, welcome to the Monday Blitz. Today, we're going to be getting into China's blockchain infrastructure to extend global reach with 6 public chains. It's going to be talking about a lot of cool stuff that China's working on. And let's go ahead and dive in here. Hope you guys had a good weekend. Let's get started. So big highlights for this article: China's state-backed blockchain-based services, BSN, has integrated with 6 public chains, including Tezos, Nervos, EOS, IRISnet, and Ethereum. This is part of China's plan to be the one and only infrastructure provider for public blockchain firms around the world. Global users will have access to China's enterprise chains and financial data via the network's cross-chain structure in partnership with China UnionPay. So the article starts out here, went through and highlighted some of these important points throughout this article. Very interesting stuff here. So to get things started, blockchain infrastructure backed by the Chinese government will open its services to decentralized applications developers on a global scale starting on August 10th. That effort resembles the country's aggressive international expansion, other major emerging technologies such as 5G and AI. Now, what's interesting is that the Trump administration has issued a new rule in May to prevent Chinese tech conglomerate Huawei, a leader in 5G technology, and its suppliers from using U.S. technology and software. The UK has also barred Huawei from its 5G networks. So China's blockchain ambitions so far have had a smooth sail, is what they're saying. There hasn't been much interruption or disruption in this area so far. So the global version of blockchain-based services network, BSN, has integrated into data centers with 6 major decentralized blockchains: Tezos, Nervos, Cosmos, IRISnet, Ethereum, and EOS. The public chains could benefit BSN's cheap services, interoperability with other Chinese enterprise blockchains, and access to financial data from China UnionPay, which otherwise difficult for foreign-based blockchain firms to obtain and process. The move is a milestone as BSN is the first state-backed blockchain infrastructure that is reaching developer communities outside China by integrating with major public chains. And this was said by Yifan He, CEO of Beijing Red Date Technology, which is a Chinese conglomerate. It goes on to say it is led by the State Information Center of China, SIC, and supported by state-owned tech conglomerates, China Mobile and China UnionPay, and Red Date, which architects BSN's technical framework. SIC is a public institution under the National Development and Reform Commission, NDRC, the highest economic planning agency in the Chinese government. It goes on to say, besides Ethereum and EOS, we have disclosed in April, we decided to include another international public chain, Tezos, and 2 prominent China-originated projects, Neo and Nervos. BSN aims to onboard more than 10 public chains by the end of this year based on their user bases, technical backgrounds, and products, He said. So what does this mean for cloud services for the blockchain? What's happening is BSN can support a tailored infrastructure service for blockchain developers, noting that projects need to be able to run nodes on such infrastructure to operate. Essentially, blockchain firms are using standardized internet services from BSN as opposed to adjusting their own technical framework to use such services. The standardized development environment could save a lot of time and money for developers from building things from scratch. So these all sound great. And immediately the light bulb that goes off in my head is that this sounds like a lot of competition here for Amazon. If BSN is offering a lot of these cloud services with integration to the blockchain, where Amazon, AWS, is pretty much the big player inside of cloud-based services here. So very interesting here. For example, validation nodes require high-level security protection to prevent them from distributed denial of service, the DDoS attacks, one of the most common cyber attacks that make a network unavailable for its users. Article goes on to read, developers can use BSN to run a node like people use cloud services, and developers can just search the name of the blockchain, hold their private keys in order to build dapps or run a node, Cal said. Developers will enjoy free services on BSN if they have fewer than 2,000 daily connection requests to BSN's nodes. Red Date Technologies, EFN, hey, claims that BSN will be much more cost-effective and stable than other networks for dApp developers. Many dApps buy services from Amazon Web Services and build their own nodes in the data centers. So kind of validating that point I just made there. Let's see. Developers would have to pay tens of thousands of dollars per year plus the human resources in order to maintain the node. In contrast, BSN will only charge several $100s for the yearly resources and operational services needed to run nodes, Hay said. So it goes on and talks about APIs. So let's get into this. All 6 chains have nodes assigned to their mainnet and testnet, respectively, where developers can first run their applications on testnets and find potential problems to ensure a frictionless experience on their mainnets. While all the chains will be able to be connected to the nodes via their native application programming interfaces, Ethereum and EOS developers can opt for API services provided by a third-party blockchain middleware firm called Defuse. So Defuse is offering fast and more convenient connections to the nodes on BSN, and it's also aiding the developers with privacy concerns, and they can still opt for native APIs. So for those of you who don't know, Defuse, founded in 2018, is a Montreal, Canada-based firm that started off by providing API services to EOS-based applications. It later branched out to projects on Ethereum. So one of the co-founders at Defuse says that we are very scalable. So Defuse has been built and stress tested on public chains, processing 5,000 sustained, 10,000 burst transactions per second, is ready to support the next 10 times and 100 times in industry growth. Very interesting there. So with Defuse coming into play, it seems like they're offering some sort of middle ground so that you're not just working completely 100% with the Chinese government. So it sounds like Defuse could be a little bridge for those who have privacy concerns with their development. So it goes on to explain here the one network, two systems set up here. Developers can build dApps on the 6 public chains in BSN's global version. This is where things get kind of interesting because it starts to peel back the layers here, and it really shows you what's going on in China versus what China is doing with the whole rest of the world. So the Chinese government regulators are very cautious about decentralized public chains and try not to get involved in anything related to public blockchain. And this is the founder of Neo talking. And he says it's very interesting because it has a clear commercial purpose and is backed by entities with government background, and BSN is supporting these projects. So the international version of the app, just talking about TikTok here, does not necessarily comply with the Chinese regulation, but the local regulations from the countries where it is used. BSN reflects a common pragmatic approach to Chinese companies to go global. So it's very interesting. China is only offering a specific type of service to their mainland inside their borders, which seems a lot more restrictive, yet they're targeting the whole rest of the world by opening up and marketing this whole new layer, this BSN layer, to the rest of the world that has more capabilities, more functionalities. It seems like it kind of like what they did with TikTok. I'm not sure what TikTok looks like inside of mainland China, but they deployed this whole app, and it's a completely different version from what they're offering inside of China. So it's interesting to see how the Chinese government is approaching the world versus how they approach their own country. So it seems like they have kind of a little bit of a double standard here. So let's go on to read. We're thrilled for Tezos to join a cohort of public blockchains that provide base layer for companies and software developers building blockchain-based applications in China and globally. Participating in BSN's is a momentous step forward on the path to wide-scale institutional adoption for Tezos project. So once again, Tezos becoming part of this, the first 6 chains to be deployed with BSN's network. Huge game changer for Tezos. Super proud of them for what they're doing. They are stepping up to the big leagues in a big way, getting incorporated with these Chinese kind of conglomerate here, if you will. And really interesting to see how this is going to play out. My questions that I have after really diving into this is, why is the U.S. not doing something like this? Why are we not leading the world in this respect. It seems like we have a lot of great people that are working on these projects, but the government is not really giving us much support. Now, big moves this past week with the comptroller saying that U.S. banks can hold cryptocurrency, but I mean, when it comes to scaling the technology and scaling the industry, that's great for a select few, but let's start getting these conglomerates ourselves. Why can't the U.S. government start deploying some of these things in offering these kind of solutions? Those are the kind of questions that left me with this. My biggest takeaway is that China's leading the world in this aspect, whether it be for good or for worse. Hopefully this is for good. Only time will tell. But at the end of the day, I think the U.S. is lagging behind once again. So hats off to Tezos for the great work that they're doing. Obviously, they're being recognized on a global scale now. And another thing about Tezos is, I just found this out the other day, but ETH 2.0 is going to be running on proof of stake, which Tezos was the first to do that. So what does that tell you? Mimicking is the greatest form of flattery. So if ETH is jumping on board here, we got BSN jumping on board using Tezos as part of their network. Is big stuff. So real interesting read. Hopefully you guys got a few nuggets from that. And that was our Monday Blitz. Thanks for joining.
Apple, chocolate, Japan, Richmond, New York, Richmond, Florida, Sally, Buffalo, check, hey, Short Ox, Buddha Raiders, how about?